everyone, it's Jackie at Spare Room Studio. I'm back today to colour in Rhapsody in Het Bos. I'm not sure how to pronounce that correctly. It's the Dutch version, Kanoko Agusa. I think it's Rhapsody in the Forest or something like that it translates to. And I'm going to colour this page today, which is the Halloween cat. And this book was a giveaway that I won through the lovely Axic Fumbles on Instagram. And she also gifted me some Caran d'Ache Neo Colour 2s to try. So it's the small set here. That's the colours. And I haven't really used them an awful lot yet. Certainly haven't based a page with them. So I'm going to have a go today at doing that, and I'm going to do it on camera with you guys. So I've got some paper towel that I'm just getting ready. I've got water brushes, and I've got watercolour pencils and so on, Inktense pencils to hand if I want to add any of those in there as well. So I'm going to get started with the Neo 2s. Neo Colour 2s, and see how I go with those, and then make some decisions further down the track from there. Now, I was hoping to make this a dark cat. I always go for orange cats, which is so predictable given that there's pumpkins as well, but I thought I'd like to have a go with maybe a black cat. And I know he's got stripes and things here, but maybe I can use all that to imply highlights rather than actual stripes. So once again, I'm going to start using these Neo Colour 2s very much how I use every water-based product, and then I will have a go at the background with them as a crayon. But I'm going to lift the colour from the tip and apply it to the wet paper, because that really is my favourite way to work. And if you're new to the channel, you haven't seen me work this way before, the reason I do it is because I feel like it's the best way that I get a looser watercolour sort of wash effect, I guess. As close as I can mimic to real watercolours, given that I'm working in a colouring book and the paper is not watercolour paper. And so over time I've decided that this is a way that I like to work to get the effect that I want to get. This is the easiest way that I've found to work this way. So I'm going to do him as a dark grey or black cat. Now down here I'm going to apply it to the dry paper and just see what it looks like. But again, I think I prefer wetting paper first and then dropping that colour in there to bleed unexpectedly and randomly. That really is my favourite look. Now we all have favourites, we all have things that we prefer over other things. So if this is not your preferred way of working, then that's 100% fine. You don't have to work this way. However, if you've tried other methods that you have been unhappy with, you don't like the effect that you're getting, then have a go at trying something like this. As always, I have to say that you need to be aware of what's on the back side of your picture. So if it's a double-sided book, make sure it's a picture that you don't feel too precious about, because there is a very high chance that it is going to bleed through. When you use as much water as I do in this method, it's a nice, happy surprise if it doesn't bleed through. So I pretty much always expect that it is going to bleed, and then I'm never really disappointed. And I've got a horrible feeling that the mower man has turned up next door again, but we'll soldier on and hopefully it won't be too noisy. being spring, the lawns are all getting mowed much more frequently. They're growing like crazy at the moment. We've had perfect weather for the gardens to go mad. We could do with a bit more rain, but we seem to always say that here. When you live in the driest state of the driest continent, rainfall is a bit of an issue that we could always do with that little touch more. I don't know if that still holds true. It's something that they used to say when I was growing up, that we lived in the driest state of the driest continent, but I should look that up actually and see whether that's still the case. The way that the weather patterns are changing, we might not have that title any longer, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So to start with, I'm going to keep my colours quite light. That's because I'm not really sure, having never done a whole page with Neocolor 2s at this stage, I'm not sure at how vibrant they're going to be. So it always pays to start off a little bit more cautious when you're using water-based products, and you can let it dry and see how strong the colour is once it's dry, because quite often water-based products do look lighter when they're dry, and then you can just build up successive layers once you've let the paper dry. Now that's my advice, that's probably the standard advice, but I don't listen to my own advice and I'm quite impatient, so you will see me quite often come in with those second or subsequent layers much sooner than I'm telling you to do, but that's because I am impatient, and two, I've done this for quite a few years now, so I'm just having a look to see what sort of bleed through we've got going on there. At the moment there's some ghosting but not true bleed through. I'm expecting it will, so if it doesn't, then I will be pleasantly surprised. We'll just put some lighter colour on his tummy area. So if it is the mower man, he's sitting out there in his van at the moment eating lunch, so let's see how far we can get along before he starts making a lot of noise. So black cats, quite often when they show a highlight, it's almost like a blue highlight, because their hair is shiny and a little bit reflective. So I'm actually going to put a hint of blue into his fur, just in different areas, just to sort of suggest that there may be some sort of highlight happening on his fur. And I don't really know what colours I want to go for. I saw a lovely version of this on Instagram where the person went to non-traditional colours, and it looks fantastic. I can't remember your name, sorry. If I think about it, I'll add it in the description box, but it just looked really, really pretty in the non-traditional colours. Now this paper is buckling a lot. It doesn't cope with a lot of water, but I don't let that stop me. Okay, I think for the pumpkins we will go for some traditional colours to start with. So I've got the yellow and orange, basically they're called. And I'm not going to do all the pumpkins the same. I'm going to do try and get some green and other colours into the pumpkins if I can. Now you wouldn't expect any different from Caran d'Ache, but the colours are quite vibrant and going down really well, even with all this water that I'm using. So I think I might go for a bit of a combination here of having some very wet areas that the colour's gone into, and then we'll try it with no water first, so that's putting it onto dry paper. So given that I haven't actually done a full page with these before, it will be worth it to add those different techniques in. So this is a little touch of vermilion now. And I'm just going to touch that into this really wet pumpkin to get some deeper colour into this one. And it will keep bleeding. And then that vermilion I'm going to put in there without any diluting first. And then I think what I might do is some of these that I want to get more green into, I'm going to do that directly onto the paper. Because I just want to see how that dilutes. It does break up really nicely actually. You don't see very much of the texture there at all. This is worrying. I say that because when I find something that's so nice to use like this, then I really want it. I thought that I could live without them. That was the thinking. That I didn't need them, but the trouble is then when you do use them and you find how nice they are, you automatically want them. So the light green was called yellow green and the darker green was emerald green. I'm going to use some ochre as well now. And you can see where I have tried using these. I was taking it right from the tip there, and I've made a small indentation in there. So what I've done now is I've actually given them a very light sharpen, and I'm lifting it from the side there so that I do it a bit more evenly and don't make such a big indentation in there. And some of that can go into these other pumpkins as well. So that's just ochre, not yellow ochre, it just is ochre. And we'll use that on some stalks. So I'm going to go back to the orange. Now I hope that all of this stays on camera today. I'm experimenting. I have my new lamp. It arrived quite late on Sunday and this is now Monday lunchtime. So I put it together this morning and was very keen to try it out. So hopefully I have got you lined up well, the light is good and you can see what I'm doing okay. I just have to remember not to keep moving my book around too much. And I think this large pumpkin, I'm going to do a combination of the oranges with the ochre, and I'm going to wet that whole lot. So we'll start with some orange. And then that is the vermilion. And then I'm going to do ochre. And I've got a feeling I'm going to need to come back in with some pencils with some of this detailing on the pumpkins. I'm going to add a little bit of the yellow green to the stalk. And a little bit to these other stalks. And I'm also going to use a little bit of brown. Is it brown? Yeah, brown. So yes, I was right, it was the Moa Man. I apologise if that's getting picked up on the background there, but hopefully it's not going to impede what you can hear of me talking. So just adding a little bit of brown to various areas. Okay, we have got a little bit going through, but it's not unworkable at this stage. So I'm starting with brown there, and now I'm going to add orange. Now I know that you can scribble onto a cutting board, or the Caran d'Ache do a special palette that you can use where you scribble on and then you wet it on there and pick it up, or you can mix colours that way. I don't wish to go down that route as of yet. If I become dissatisfied with the effects that I'm getting here, I will have to think about it, but so far I'm quite liking how these work with this method that I like, especially if I use them on some heavier paper that can cope with more water. And to do that one a bit more like a gourd, I suppose. I don't know, I'm just doing this off the top of my head, guys. It's not meant to look real or perfect. It's a colouring book, so I'm happy to just go with, playing around and making up your own thing as you go along. If I was creating some artwork to sell and I wanted it to be believable, I would do some research and find out and make sure that I've got the right colours in the right places and so on. But this is purely for a bit of fun and relaxation, so it doesn't need to be perfect as far as I'm concerned. It's going to be more about playing with the colours and seeing what these little crayons can do. So I'm very late to the Neocolour party. As I mentioned, I've actually been, might use that directly. I've actually been trying to avoid using these because I had a feeling that I was going to really like them. and they are quite expensive. I know they're expensive worldwide, but they are quite expensive here in Australia. And so I was trying to sort of avoid going down that road, but they really are nice to work with. It's like the distress inks and so on. I would really like to try some of those out, but they are very expensive here and not easily readily available in stores and so on. You have to sort of look online for that sort of thing mostly, but I know what my nature is like, and I know that if I like something, then that's it. I'm going to want it in every colour, and you know, go down that rabbit hole, which will get very expensive very quickly. So I'm thinking, you know, maybe further down the track, if I save some of the earnings from the channel, I can maybe invest it into something like that then. But that would require being patient and waiting and saving, and so far you guys have helped buy this new lamp for me, so thank you for watching my videos. I really do appreciate each and every one of you that takes the time out to watch. And yeah, so it was from the YouTube earnings that I have purchased this lamp. So hopefully it makes it a little bit better for you for the terms of the colour and the quality. I know there's a bit of a shadow there still, you're always going to get that, but hopefully it's not too intrusive. And hopefully the colour temperature is a little bit more pleasant. The natural light that was coming in the window actually made everything look quite cool. Not necessarily like it was in real life. So we'll see how today is. I've got this on a setting today, and if it's not great, then we can try one of the other settings out. I did have a quick play with it, and I thought that this seemed to be okay as a setting. So I'm just going to use the green again for this one at the back, and I'm actually going to use a little bit of the darker green with it and see how that dilutes on the paper. Yeah, they're very nice to work with. If you haven't experienced the Neo Colour 2s, they are nice. And they do seem to blend quite nicely. You get rid of a lot of the marks. They dilute, you know, and don't leave too many strokes and marks behind on the paper like some watercolour products can do. Now, this is a little bit tricky in here. This is actually part of the pumpkin here behind him. So thank you to the lovely Axic Fumbles, one for having a giveaway, which she did. Can't remember, was it earlier this year or last year? But thank you for having the giveaway. And I was very fortunate to receive this book, a couple of books, and the lovely gift of the Neocolor 2s. I really do appreciate it a lot, and I don't know why it's taken me so long to give them a decent trial like this, but I think I knew I was going to like them, and that's why I was holding off a little bit. But Christmas is coming up, so maybe I can watch for the sales, and maybe I might be able to treat myself to some of these. Okay, so there we've got the pumpkins going. That's started. Now his little cape, or her little cape. Oh, we've got the little pumpkin carrier here for all her trick or treat goodies. Let's just do that all orange for now, and then I'll worry about the handle and so on later. Now these will be very much how I perceive the Derwent Inktense pencils to be, that if you work in this manner where you're only lifting a little bit of colour from the tip like this, they're going to go a really long way. There's no wastage, and they are going to go a long way, so that makes them much more economical when you think about what I would spend on a pencil, and perhaps that pencil is one that doesn't sharpen properly, and so you keep sharpening it and end up losing a lot of your pencil to the sharpening process, so that becomes a false economy. So something like this, where there is absolutely no wastage with it and you're using the whole product, suddenly become very economical when you do the figures then, and you think about how far that product and that colour is going to go. So I think, what colours have I got here and what could I use? I think now do I want a purple background on the cape, or do I want to keep the colours very similar to what I've already used? This is a bit of a dilemma, isn't it? Oh, we've got one more pumpkin over there, or gourd, that I've missed over here. Let's just do it this way and see how that works. So I don't know if you could hear that conversation going on. Alright, so I think what I've decided is I might do the cape in a different colour and the background in some dark greens and so on. So maybe his cape, or her cape, I'm actually not going to go for the traditional purple. I'm going to go for turquoise, blue turquoise. And this might be a bit tedious to watch, but I'm going to, because it's a very detailed pattern here. I'm going to put the crayon in and then use the brush to dilute it on the paper. Just have to be careful down the bottom here because it is still quite wet, and I've got colours on my hand, so just need to be careful. might do with this is, so that it's not all too much the same. This one is light blue. I'll bring in some light blue as well, just to add a bit of variation to that colour. Now, of course, all of this can be added in or accentuated or highlighted later with coloured pencil as well. But just for interest's sake, let's see how far I can get with the Neo colours before I go adding anything else in here. It is a small set. I think, let's have a look. So I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15 colours. And let's just get started on here. Diluting that. So the good thing about working with it this way is that when you're diluting it, you're going to get some colours that are deeper and vibrant, and then you're going to get some diluted areas that are looking lighter. So you're kind of bringing in some natural highlights and lowlights and so on into it. And then what I can do later is perhaps bring in some pencil, or use a watercolour pencil or something like that to get into all the nooks and crannies here, because it's a very, very detailed little pattern here. And there's quite a lot of tight areas to get in with the brush. But I'm hoping to, with the pattern, you know, the actual pattern on there, I'm hoping to bring in a metallic or a gel pen or something like that for that at the end. I thought it might be nice to make that shiny. So it's quite unusual for me to work with such a limited palette as well. So I could be going over the whole lot of this. If I thought about that in hindsight, it doesn't matter if I go over. If I'm going to use a darker metallic pen, I can just go over that. Or I could even use a white acrylic paint marker if I want to keep that white. So that speeds the process up a lot, doesn't it? Just doing that. So yeah, 15 colours for me is quite a small range of colours to start with. But I have to say that sometimes it is really nice to do, because I've got some of the bigger sets of pencils. I've got the Color, I think it's, pardon me, 260 or something like that, and it feels like far too many colours. Like there's so many colours that are so similar to each other, you wonder why we need them. And it can make choosing colours really difficult for some people. If if you're not confident, having too many colours can actually be off-putting. And having a limited palette actually can make for a really nice result sometimes. And again, I'll decide what to do for the ribbon or tie around his neck or her neck. I keep saying him. I don't know why I'm thinking it's a him. So that's quite nice. And then what I might bring into that as well is a little touch of the green and maybe yellow. So I hope you're not getting my head in there then. So we'll add a little bit of the green and a little bit of yellow. So you can see how I start off using things in one way, like I coloured onto the paper and then diluted it, and very quickly went back to this randomness of washing and you know, having wet paper and dropping the colour into it. Just naturally fell back into that, because that's just, it's just a method that I know works for me quite often how I want it to, and it's comfortable and I like it. I like the result. Okay, so, and I always go super vibrant or very dark in the end, but this one might be nicer left as a bit of a watercolour wash look rather than going too crazy with it after all. So I had in my mind, I'd been thinking that maybe this could be done like a wrought iron gate or fence behind him, and so that would make it black. And I'm thinking I'd like to do a bit of green. Especially behind there. So I'm not sure if you will hear some noises in the background, some ticking and clicking and so on. I have actually got a clock that we had in a, well, it was actually out in the shed because we had nowhere for it in the house. And so I've brought that into this room so that I know what time it is, and I don't lose complete track of the time like I was doing. But it does have a quite audible tick. And that does not bother me when I listen to other people's videos, but if it's something that bothers you, I do apologise. If it bothers you a lot, it might be something that you need to mute the videos so that you don't hear it. But I haven't recorded since I put it up, so I don't know if it's going to actually make it into the background or not. I could be jumping the gun and that you might not be able to hear anything at all. So just to blend that in a little bit better there, I'm just going to drop the colour in that way, and I'm going to let it bleed randomly. So again, if I'm going to do that raw iron, it doesn't matter if I go over the top of the detailed bits. I'll just blend that in a little bit better because it is looking a bit solid for my liking. It might not show up on the video that way, but in real life it is looking a little bit solid for how I like my pages to look. And you might have noticed that I got smarter today, and I've actually put some washi tape down that edge to protect my page on the left hand side. So I actually took my own advice for a change. And you may or may not, I can't tell just yet until I see the end of the video, but I've put some tape around the book just to remind me where my book should sit to be in the best place for the video. So hopefully I've got those in the right places. But if you can see it and you're wondering why it's there, that's the purpose of that. So I didn't intend to come out that far, so that's a bit annoying. I should not have really done that. So what I'm going to do is get some paper towel and just lift some of that back off if I can. I hadn't intended to go all the way out there, but because it wasn't blending how I wanted it to, I got a bit exuberant there and so I feel like I'm going to have to come right to the edge over this side now to match what's going on the other side. So that's a little annoying because I hadn't wanted to do that. I had hoped to leave it really random here on the edges. And I'm going to have a go and see how the flicking and splattering and so on works with these, like I like to do with other things. So let's get that wet and do a bit of flicking. And I'm guessing these are going to be pretty much like every other water-based product in that they're going to dry a little bit lighter than how they look at the moment. That's good. And down here for the bottom of the feet, I might have to imply that there's some sort of grass or ground or something. So what I'm going to try is I've got a little paint palette here, put some water in there, and I'm going to take some colour off and mix that in there. And I'm also going to take some off of the black. You shouldn't really do this over your page in case you have an accident but I wanted to show you how I was doing that. So it's best to do that away from the edge of your page. And so there I've got a nice darker green than I had before. I do like those colours a lot actually. I think the limited palette is looking nice so far. Okay, so let's have a look at what have I used in terms of colours. So I had 15 colours, and I've used 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 of those colours so far. So that's the colours that I've used. So I'll write those down and put them in the description box and so on. And I think I might need to let this dry now and then think about how to finish it off. So I might even need to iron that page before I proceed. I can't even turn that page, it's so wet. And see all that water up there moving. So yeah, I think that will be part 1, and I will come back with part 2. If I can stitch the 2 videos together, I will. Otherwise, you will see it as a 2-part video series. If you're still with me, thank you so much for watching, and I will be back with part 2 really soon. Bye now.